Good evening everyone. Today once again a big welcome to Mauli's biology class. Today we are going to discuss a very important and a wonderful system in our body, the circulatory system or the transport system. This system is unique. As you know pretty well that the body requires certain substances that are to be transported from one place to the other for the conduct of metabolism. In the previous class, we had discussed about blood and its components. Now we shall discuss about a very important topic, the pumping system. The blood circulatory system comprises of a very powerful heart in human beings. Actually, to say, the transport system in animals is majorly divided or categorized into two: the open type blood circulatory system and the closed type of blood circulatory system. The open type blood circulatory system is present mostly in the insects, that is in arthropods, whereas the closed type of blood circulatory system that comprises of a pumping device called as heart, along with the blood vessels called as arteries, the veins and the capillaries. This plays a major role in the transportation of various substances through the medium of transportation called as blood. Now we shall deal with the structure of human heart. Human heart, is a wonderful organ. This takes its origin in the fetus itself. The formation of human heart in the fetus, that is in the embryo inside the mother's womb, takes place, or it originates on the 18th day after fertilization in the embryo. And the formation of the heart is completed roughly about the 25th day or maybe the 30th day, and the functioning will be simultaneously carried out inside the body to pump the liquid called as blood, the liquid tissue called as blood. Now we shall talk about the heart in adult. So in human beings, the human heart, this is the shape of human heart is roughly triangular. It is broader on the anterior and tapering or narrower towards the posterior end. If you wish to know about human heart, you have to remember the number 4. This is very unique. No, it's quite interesting. The 4 stands for 4 chambers in human heart, 4 valves in the human heart, and 4 major blood vessels connected to the human heart. Now, with regards to the external features, the human heart is placed in the thorax. It is located in the thorax or the chest region, which is commonly called. It is present in the middle of the chest or the thorax. It is guarded by rib cage. It is formed with the powerful cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle is striated, but it is involuntary. This is the paradox. Now, the powerful cardiac muscle can contract and relax. So, the function of pumping the blood depends upon the contracting capability and the relaxing capability of this cardiac muscle, the heart. Heart is bounded or covered by means of a 3-layered membrane called as pericardium. The pericardial membrane has got 3 layers: the epicardium, the myocardium and the pericardium, of course. Between these 3 layers we find the pericardial fluid, which supports the heart, which prevents the heart from getting damaged due to external blows and shocks. Heart is guarded by the pericardium, and in between these 3 layers, the epicardium, the myocardium and the pericardium, in between these 3 layers, I repeat once again, there is pericardial fluid. Now, the heart comprises of 4 chambers. The human heart has got 4 chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called as auricles or atria. The 2 lower chambers, which are a bit larger, these are called as ventricles. So the upper chambers are called as auricles or the atria, and the lower chambers are called as ventricles. Here, so there are 4 chambers altogether. two atria and two ventricles. Atria are smaller in size compared to that of the ventricles. Now, we call the right ventricle and the left ventricle towards the bottom of the heart, and right auricle and the left auricle towards the anterior side in the heart. And this heart is connected by means of four major blood vessels. The blood vessels that are connected to the heart are the chief caval vein that brings the blood from all the body parts into the heart, into the right atrium. It opens into the right atrium. Then the second major blood vessel is the aorta, means the biggest artery that originates in the left ventricle, which pumps the oxygenated blood, or in general terms we call pure blood, to all the body parts. So this is the aorta. We find this is the aorta. Then this is also called as systemic trunk. The other name for aorta is systemic trunk. Now, the other two major blood vessels are the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein. Now, if we talk about the functions of these major blood vessels, as I told earlier, the chief caval vein is a combination of all the veins coming from all the body parts, which unite to form a superior vena cava towards the anterior side and the inferior vena cava towards the posterior side. So these vena cavae are the unification of the smaller veins that open up into a common chamber, a common tubule called as the chief caval vein that opens into the right atrium. Then the aorta that comes out of the left ventricle. Then third is the pulmonary artery, which originates in the right ventricle, then goes towards the lungs, the two lungs. A pair of lungs are present in the thorax. Then the pulmonary artery takes the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. From there, after oxygenation, this oxygenated blood, that is the pure blood, it will have to come to the heart once again. So this blood is carried from the lungs to the heart through the pulmonary vein. So altogether, the four major blood vessels are the first one is the chief caval vein, the second is the aorta, the third is the pulmonary artery, and the fourth is pulmonary vein. And with regards to the valves, let us talk about the valves. There are altogether four valves that are present inside the human heart. Valves are those structures which are present at the entrance of these blood vessels, or the chambers. Now, these valves prevent the backflow of blood, thereby guard the heart from getting ruptured or maybe bursting open. They prevent the backflow of blood during the functioning of the heart. So when the heart is constantly pumping the blood to and fro, these valves protect or prevent the backflow and thereby offer protection. Now let us talk about the details of the internal structure of the human heart. The human heart has got four chambers. I repeat once again. The auricles are the atria on the anterior side and the ventricles towards the posterior side. The right atrium and the left atrium are the receiving chambers, and the ventricles, the right ventricle and the left ventricle, are the pumping chambers or the distributing chambers. The receiving chambers receive the blood from the concerned organs, and the pumping chambers send out the blood to the concerned organs. Now, the position of the valves. Let us talk about the position of the valves. And before going into the position here, let us talk about the other internal structure. The auricles are the atria are separated by means of the interauricular septum or the interatrial septum. Simply to say IAS, it is not Indian Administrative Service here, of course. It is the interatrial septum. Septum means a wall, that is a separating section. Then the two ventricles are separated by means of a very thick wall called as interventricular septum, the IVS. So the interauricular septum and the interventricular septum separate these chambers linearly or longitudinally, whereas the auricles and the ventricles are separated by means of auriculoventricular septa. So auriculoventricular septa here signify the importance of bifurcating the heart. Now here the auricles and the ventricles are separated by auriculoventricular septum. Towards the right we say right auriculoventricular septum, and towards the left we say the left auriculoventricular septum. And here a very important point to be noted is the right atrium opens into the right ventricle through right auriculoventricular aperture present on the right auriculoventricular septum. I repeat once again, a small aperture is present on the right auriculoventricular septum. We call it as right auriculoventricular aperture, which is guarded by the tricuspid valve. The tricuspid valve, this valve is located on the exactly at the point of the attachment of the right auriculoventricular septum. So it prevents the backflow of blood from the right ventricle into the right auricle during the contraction phase. Then towards the left, on the left auriculoventricular septum, we find left auriculoventricular aperture. The left auriculoventricular aperture is guarded by a bicuspid valve, otherwise called as the mitral valve. So the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve prevents the backflow of blood, the oxygenated blood, back into the atrium, the right atrium. Thereby it prevents the bursting of the heart. Now if we talk about the heartbeat, or the what we say a cardiac cycle, the heartbeat comprises of one systole and one diastole. A systole means the contraction, a diastole means the relaxation. A contraction and a relaxation of this heart makes up one heartbeat. Now the systole will take here the atrial contraction, that is the systole of the atrium, takes roughly about 0.11 to 0.14 seconds, and the ventricular contraction roughly takes about 0.27 to 0.35 seconds. And altogether, for one contraction and for one relaxation, altogether we call it as one cardiac cycle. This cardiac cycle will take 0.8 second time. So this is a rough calculation with regards to the heartbeat rate, a cardiac cycle. Here, if we talk about the functioning of the heart is uninterruptedly functioning inside the body, right from the womb to the tomb. So generally we say when a person expires, there is a want of oxygen in the cardiac muscle. Moreover, the cardiac muscles are supplied with blood through coronary arteries, and coronary veins take the deoxygenated blood once again from the cardiac muscle to the lungs for oxygenation through the same heart. So the blood vessels that are connected to the heart are called as coronary arteries or coronary blood vessels, what we say. Now this is with regards to the structure of human heart. I hope you have enjoyed listening to this beautiful class, and I will meet you with more details with regards to the functioning of the heart in the next video. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you once again. Bye bye. This is Mowgli signing off.